When the alien queen pointed at me, the entire chamber went silent. Not the polite kind of silence you hear in courts or councils, but the deep, instinctive stillness of predators sensing something irreversible. Weapons powered down mid-charge. Translators froze for a fraction of a second. Even the air seemed heavier, as if the universe itself leaned in to listen. I stood alone on the obsidian floor of the Aurelian conclave, a human among giants. My name is Marcus Hale. I was not a general. I was not a hero. I was a systems engineer assigned to the diplomatic escort fleet because I understood alien power grids better than most. Somehow, through a chain of catastrophes and bad luck, I had become humanity's last representative in the most dangerous room in the galaxy. At the far end of the chamber sat Queen Zaratha, ruler of the Volari Ascendancy. She was enormous, towering even while seated upon her living throne. Her exoskeletal crown shimmered with bioluminescent veins, and her 6 eyes glowed with cold intelligence. Entire civilizations had surrendered at her command. Others had vanished from history for daring to resist. Humanity was next. The conclave had been called to decide whether Earth would be annexed or erased. The Volari believed in efficiency above all else. Species that contributed were assimilated. Species that resisted were removed. Humanity, with its fractured governments and stubborn independence, had been labeled statistically inefficient. I had already spoken. I had argued. I had pleaded with logic, trade potential, cultural value, adaptability, everything the briefing told me to say. None of it mattered. Queen Zaratha raised one clawed hand. A hologram of the Sol system appeared, Earth glowing faintly blue at its center. Red targeting markers began to form. This session concludes. Her voice echoed through the chamber, layered with harmonics that vibrated in my bones. The human species has failed to demonstrate sufficient value. My mouth went dry. Then she did something unexpected. She leaned forward, and she pointed at me. 6 alien eyes locked onto mine, and with a voice that carried across the galaxy, the alien queen spoke 2 words. Tell me. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Volari nobles recoiled in shock. Even the automated recorders flickered, scrambling to process the shift in protocol. I froze, not from fear, but from disbelief. Those 2 words were not a command. They were an invitation. I swallowed and took a step forward, ignoring the energy spears aimed inches from my chest. If this was my final moment, then I would not waste it on rehearsed speeches. You want to know why humanity matters? I asked. The queen did not respond, but she did not stop me. So I told her the truth. I told her we were not special because we were strong. We lose, I said. A lot. We lose wars. We lose planets. We lose people we love. We fail constantly. The Volari hissed in amusement. Failure was shameful in their culture. But every time, I continued, we adapt. Not because we're optimized, but because we're stubborn. I spoke of Earth's history, of nations that hated each other until disaster forced cooperation, of technologies born from desperation, of ordinary people stepping into impossible roles when no one else could. I showed them records, not of victories, but of resilience. A mining colony rebuilding after orbital collapse. Doctors working through plagues with no guarantee of survival. Engineers holding together failing reactors with nothing but duct tape and hope. The queen watched silently. You judge species by stability, I said. By predictability. Humanity is neither. We are chaotic, emotional, inefficient. I took a breath. But when the universe throws something impossible at us, we don't ask if we can survive. We ask who we can save. Something shifted in the room. The hologram of soul flickered, paused. Queen Zaratha tilted her head, studying me like a complex equation. You claim weakness as strength, she said. Yes, I replied, because it forces us to rely on something you don't measure. And what is that? She asked. I didn't hesitate. Choice. The word echoed through the chamber like a forbidden signal. Volari doctrine taught that choice was an illusion. Outcomes were calculated, paths optimized. Free will was inefficient noise. Queen Zaratha rose from her throne. When she stood, the chamber's gravity subtly adjusted, compensating for her mass. She descended the steps slowly, each movement deliberate. You stand before a queen who commands 1,000 worlds, she said. Who has ended species older than your son? Why should I allow such instability into my dominion? I met her gaze. Because one day, I said quietly, your calculations will fail. Something will happen that no model predicts. And when that day comes, optimized systems will break. I tapped my chest. We won't. Silence. Then something impossible happened. Queen Zaratha dismissed the targeting hologram. The red markers vanished. Gasps rippled through the conclave. You intrigue me, human, she said. But intrigue is not mercy. She turned and addressed the assembly. The Volari Ascendancy will conduct a test. My heart pounded. Human Marcus Hale, she continued. You will accompany my fleet to the Rift of Nereth. The Rift was a region of unstable spacetime, a cosmic wound that consumed ships, signals, and stars. The Volari had been trying to seal it for centuries. Every attempt had failed. If you survive, the Queen said, and if your species demonstrates the adaptability you claim, humanity will be spared. And if we fail? I asked. Her eyes glowed brighter. Then your extinction will be efficient. The Rift of Nereth was worse than any simulation. Reality twisted like molten glass. Volari ships, marvels of engineering, struggled to maintain cohesion. Predictive systems failed within minutes. That was when the Queen learned the difference between calculation and improvisation. Human engineers, outmatched, under-equipped, began rerouting systems manually. We ignored protocol. We broke rules. We tried things that shouldn't have worked. And somehow they did. When a Volari command ship lost stabilization, a human pilot rammed his own vessel into it, not to destroy it, but to anchor it. When energy harmonics collapsed, a human technician rewired the system using alien power couplings backward, creating a feedback loop no Volari algorithm would ever approve. When a breach threatened to consume the fleet, I made a decision without consulting command. I ordered the detonation of our own prototype drive. It tore a temporary seam in the rift, just long enough for the fleet to escape. Half our ships were gone, but the rift was sealed. The Volari had never accepted losses as success. Humanity had always understood the difference. Back aboard the flagship, Queen Zaratha summoned me. You disobeyed direct command, she said. Yes, I replied. And it saved your fleet. She studied the data in silence. For centuries, she said slowly, we sought perfection. You embrace imperfection and wield it like a weapon. I shrugged weakly. We call it doing our best. For the first time, the alien queen laughed. It was a low, resonant sound that shook the walls. Human Marcus Hale, she declared, you have answered my curiosity. She pointed at me again. This time, there was no fear in the chamber, only awe.